Yeah, we've got a few more people that just joined. Okay, I think let's go ahead and get going here. What a great topic. Thank you guys all for being here. I'm Emily Gupton, Community Partnerships Director for Austin Women in Technology. And from our board, I think we also have Taryn Wise on here, who is over our membership efforts. And we're so excited to have you guys here to meet Carrie, and I'll listen to this relevant topic, right? We all need a little pep in our step, feel like going through our day, and so really excited to hear about this topic and dig in. So just a couple of quick things. If you guys, we do our Who's Looking, Who's Hiring. So if y'all are doing either of those things and would like us to share that with our community, please post that in the chat and we'll put that in our Slack and follow up with that after the event. And then if you guys can stay muted and put questions in the chat, we'll be monitoring that also as we move through the presentation, and then we'll have time for a little Q&A at the end. Any questions or anything before we get rolling? Okay. All right, so welcome. So everybody, so excited to introduce you guys to Carrie. So Carrie works with executives and professionals to reach their full potential in life and in business with her leadership mindset success system. She helps people tap into their self-awareness and strengths and move past blocks to drive results and inspire people around them. So really excited to hear more about this topic, relevant for myself, and can't wait to dig in. So I'll go ahead and let Carrie say hello and introduce herself, and we'll get moving on the presentation.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me and making me feel so welcome. Emily and Taryn and Nicole have been so nice. So happy to be here. And I've heard so many wonderful things about this group. So very happy to be here. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to try to share my screen here. Do you guys see my do you see my screen? No. Okay, let me see here. You see it?
Yeah, you're good, Carrie. Thanks.
It's not moving. Okay, there it is. Okay. So if you keep thinking, feeling, and doing the same thing, then you're going to keep thinking and feeling and doing the same thing. As the thought leader Bob Proctor says, 5% of what we achieve is through planning and strategy, and 95% is through mindset. And that makes perfect sense because of the way we're wired. You see, we have a thought, which leads to an emotion, which leads to an action. So if your thought is, oh my gosh, this session is not really going to be that great, but I'm going to come anyway, then your emotion is going to be kind of negative or neutral, and then your action is going to be not to get a lot out of this. But if it's more like, oh, this is going to be interesting, my thought is interesting, then your emotion is more matter of fact, and your action is to maybe get some stuff out of this. But if you can intentionally think, wow, there are some really great opportunities here, then your emotion is going to be more excitement, and your action is going to get some great ideas out of this, and really kick some butt with maybe some of these ideas that I'm sharing. So what I want to do today is I'm going to talk about how you can intentionally raise that mindset to a higher level by giving you 3 strategies that can really work with you, thinking differently, interacting differently, and leading in different ways. But first of all, I want to back up a little bit and give you a little background on me. For a long time, I worked for a technology forecasting company where we forecast the future. And what we found was that people didn't just want to forecast the future. They wanted to create their own futures by either growing their businesses or either starting new businesses. So we came up with a list of best practices. Those best practices were around finding small trends that would become big opportunities. That turned into a book that I co-wrote that won a couple of Best Book Awards. We started doing workshops and consulting, and we did 3 conferences that I led in 2011, 2012, 13, and 14. It was great. But what I found over time was that there was just a lot of people that were really very unhappy, especially in corporate and government, that just didn't have an opportunity to use their innovative ideas or their creativity because the organization and the leadership had a very closed, fixed mindset where, you know, you just kind of do your thing and stay within your lanes. So I got really interested in culture, and I thought, well, I'll help organizations with their culture and to give a solution to this problem. So got really passionate about that. And I really loved it. As a matter of fact, our last 2 conferences were around innovation and culture. But again, I found that, you know, it was kind of putting Band-Aids on if you didn't have that leadership mindset that was positive and growth minded. So in 2016, I went through a 9-month executive coaching program where I really got the techniques and methodologies to really change that so that I could change that leadership mindset from the core. I put that together with my innovation and culture background, and I created a program, Leadership Mindset Success Program, and that's what I'm going to share some things about with you today. So just kind of to get started, this is kind of what the energy leadership mindset, the idea is all about. We start with a fixed mindset, fight and flight. And what we want to do is we want to go up this chart here to win-win and visionary. And one of the ways to do that is to find intentional ways to raise your mindset to those higher levels. The 3 strategies we're going to talk about is shifting your core thought to the positive, communicating for win-win, and inspiring others by clarifying your whys. If you're interested in finding out more and getting more insight, I invite you to, at the end, to take the leadership mindset assessment. This will give you lots of more ideas and insight about where your mindset is now and where you might go in the future. I want to take a moment for y'all to really think about a challenge that you are going through right now, preferably in business, since this is a business crowd. But I want to take a moment and think about a challenge you're having right now. It could be around, you know, the people you work with. It could be around the office. It could be around something about your job. It could be around feeling an imposter syndrome, whatever you think. But I'm going to give you just a moment to think about that. Does everybody have something that they've thought about? Let me look at my crowd here. Anybody who can put their pictures up, it's really nice to have some faces to look at and react to. So I'd love to have you turn on your cameras. Okay, everybody have some ideas? Yeah? Okay, great. Okay. So the first one we're going to talk about is shifting your core thought to the positive. And this comes back to that whole idea of having a thought, which leads to an emotion, which leads to an action. And what we want to do is we want to energize that thought and energize the emotion and energize the action so that you can get all of those great opportunities and unexpected positive outcomes. A great example of this is Chris. Now, Chris, I started working with Chris. She had just been promoted, and she was struggling. She had always worked for a client group, and now she was going to have to go out. She worked for a mid-sized nonprofit, and now she was going to have to go out, and she was going to have to get customers, get clients, get sponsors. And at first, she thought, great, I love partying. I love having free food, and this is going to be a lot of fun. But then the reality set in that she was going to have to go to these places by herself. She was often didn't know people, and it was often in the evening. And on our first meeting, she told me, gosh, that she'd gone to this event the night before. She was just fighting going. She was like clinging to her car thing, just, trying to think of any excuse. Did I leave the dog out? Did I leave the oven on? Anything to turn around and go back home. But she finally got there. She opened the door. She looked around. She was, oh my God, there's a bunch of people there. I don't recognize anybody. She just, kind of wanted to drift into the wallpaper. But she pulled herself together and she came in and she finally found someone she kind of liked and knew. And she hung out with them for the rest of the evening. And then the first moment she went scooting out the door. What she didn't do was she didn't do her job of finding people and making meetings and making contacts. She was really stuck in a mindset pit. And it was completely understandable because she was miserable. Her thought was fakey and salesy. Her emotion was miserable. Her action was to, hide behind the potted plant and avoid anything that she could possibly avoid. What we wanted to do was we wanted to energize that thought, energize that emotion, and then energize that action so she could meet some people and make some client appointments. So how do you do that? Well, one way you can do that is by looking at your past strengths. And this is in a similar situation. Your resilience, your fortitude, your sense of humor, your warmth, your, being a quick thinker, being quick on your feet, all of those things that we use that we don't even really think about. So I asked her, well, what have you done in the past where you did meet people and connect with people? And she thought about it and she said, well, a year ago, I went to this really great St. Patrick's Day party. We were all sitting at the tables and there was these centerpieces with these little leprechauns and they were all leaping around. And I just kept making jokes about it all night long. And I had the whole table in stitches. And I made 2 of the best contacts that I've ever made during that evening. And everybody connected with each other, but in particular, those 2. I asked her, well, what strength did you use? What strength do you think it was? Sense of humor, right? And what's the first thing that goes down the drain when we get under stress or when we get, feel uncomfortable? Usually our sense of humor, right? So we came up with a couple of little stories to start the conversation with and a couple of little jokes that she could tell here and there to kind of tap into her great sense of humor, because she actually had a great sense of humor. And she started feeling more comfortable. A second thing we looked at was her value in the situation. And this was, this is like more things that you've learned, your education, your knowledge, your expertise, things that, you've done, your experience that you've had in your past. And she thought about that and she said, well, I know everybody, I know all of the resources in town. I could really help people find what they're looking for. So if I start a conversation, one-on-one conversation, find out what their challenges are, then I can guide them to where they might find resources. And if the resources are something that I can help them with directly, I can invite them to have a meeting. And that's exactly what she did. And she started getting meetings with people. Finally, we talked about goals and being real specific and accountable to goals. Goals is a huge thing to raise up your, intentionally raise up your mindset. So we agreed that she would try to go to 2 events a week. She would try to come up and introduce herself to 2 strangers, and she would try not to leave until she'd made at least 2 appointments. Well, she started doing this. She started making friends. She started making contacts. People started referring her. She started bringing in clients. She started bringing in sponsors. Her boss, who had hired me in the first place, he was just absolutely thrilled. And she even got a raise after a few months. So the point is, the more you can change that thought to the positive, the more opportunities and the more success and is going to flow from that. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to do an exercise. And I want you to think about that challenge that we took the time to think about. And I want you to think about what past strengths that you bring to that challenge and what value you bring, and then set some goals around that. And what we're going to do is we're going to split off into groups of 2 so that you can talk to another person. What I'd like for you to do is we'll have 4 minutes. So 2 minutes on one person, 2 minutes on the other person. So I'll kind of let you guys do that. If you're in a room that doesn't have somebody in it, because I know some of these people, I'm not sure if they're actually there or not, because I don't see all the faces, but if you're not in a room, just come on back and Taryn will put you in a different room. And if we have 3 people, that's fine too. But we'll start off with 2 and we'll see what happens. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions on that?
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, Emily should be able to. Yeah, Emily, I'll let you take on that.
Okay, great.
Give me just a second to do some quick math. Hold on. We've got a couple of people also that I'm admitting. Let me just let Kathleen and so Shalini and Kathleen, you just joined. We're about to go out into breakout rooms. I'm going to give you guys just a quick second. Or Carrie, can you give just a quick rundown of this slide while I add up our participants and make sure that I get enough breakout rooms created? Okay, so again, if you guys end up alone for some reason, come back. But here we go.
Keep fingers crossed. I'm going to go ahead and say not now.
Okay, so again, you guys should all be prompted to join breakout rooms.
For some reason, steering wheel just dropped out of my mind. Hi, Ari.
Hi, this is Mui.
Hi.
I went to room 4, but there's nobody in that room except for me.
Okay,
I wonder if you can help me reassign.
I'm gonna move you to a different room. Give me just a second.
Thank you.
Maddie,
And
do you need a new
I'll
room?
keep the timer, Emily.
Yeah, there wasn't anyone that came to mind.
Give me a hot second.
Thank you.
Carrie, if you have any extras that or need to be paired up, let me know. I just went ahead and said not now for now.
Do you want to be added to a room?
Not necessarily. I work with Carrie, so I think it'd be fine for me not to.
Understood.
Unless you have an empty space person that needs somebody to be matched with.
Oh man, I think you should just jump on. Not necessarily this time, but maybe next time just jump on. No, you don't have to if you don't want to.
And Carrie, whenever you're ready for me to call people back, let me know.
Okay, I've got the timer on, so we have a little bit, about a minute and a half.
So Emily, do you have anybody that's not paired up at this point?
If they are, they can hear us talking right now. Otherwise, I think everybody's got, I shuffle people around.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna, I've been doing something else while I've been listening, so it's nice to give the people that are not too as familiar an opportunity to have the meetings.
I'm gonna go. Okay.
I'm gonna mute myself and stop the video for a few minutes, but I'll be back on this.
I'm still not paired up actually. I don't know if somebody else is also open at this time.
Yes, hold on just a minute.
Hi, Linda.
Yeah, if anybody that is on here, I got a couple people, Amy, Gigi, and Swati, if you guys want to be in a room, let me know. Okay. Well, we're so Amy, Carrie, how much time do we have left?
We have about 43, 40.
Hey,
46.
Emily, this is Swati. I'm driving. I can't go in.
Got it. Okay. Okay, Amy, I'm gonna drop you into a room real quick.
Thank you, Emily, for taking care of that. I hate having to do that. I once had to do that with like I had 200 people or something like
Oh my
that.
God.
I was trying to just, I was going out of, I forgot to record the silly thing. I was letting people in and I was separating people out. It was like crazy.
Well, on our
Emily,
next one, oh yeah.
do you have everybody matched up now, or is Swati or Gigi waiting?
So I don't know about Gigi, but Swati is driving and is a
Okay.
wonderful, awesome member of ours. So we can chat here next time. Because I don't
Okay.
know that she could join from the phone. But yeah, we can just have some dialogue here
Okay.
on our next session.
Okay, sounds good. Gigi actually might have two, she might have a voice and then she might have two things set up, or he, I guess it's a she. Because I seem to remember it being up there twice.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes. Yeah, the thing
Here we
went
go.
off. So yeah, definitely.
So they have up to 60 seconds to come back. So that's,
Oh, I need to
wasn't
keep
sure
that in
what
mind.
that was. They'll close automatically, but people start shuttling back usually when they see the alert.
Is it really 60 minutes? I was thinking it was more like
60.
30.
60 seconds, yeah, 60 seconds. I don't know if I can control that in our Zoom. I'll look at that after we get off the call. So when we do the next one, let's do it at like 30 seconds before you
Yes,
want
okay.
everybody to come back, and then we can.
That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, we have about 5 seconds before all the rooms close. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and mute Carrie and let you take it away.
Who would like to share what happened with them? One person. Who would like to do that?
I know we've got some courageous folks in this group.
Maddie? Haley? Karina? This is where oh, there, Amanda. Thank you so much. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, we didn't have very much time. We would have liked to have a little bit more time. We were doing really, really well, but I kind of jumped in and took the opportunity for myself. Just started in April for a management and IT consulting firm, ISF. It's a much smaller firm, but compete in the same arena as the Accentures, the Deloittes, and Acellas, and the public space state of Texas agencies. Struggling learning how the Texas legislature works, how funding and appropriations work, how to communicate with knowledge with these state agencies and the decision makers there. Having really just a really hard time challenge with my getting the outreach going. I have till April to kind of get some kind of rhythm going on because I'm in a kind of an associate role. And then that will start in April. I'll start being responsible for a $4 million quota a year. So really want to set myself up where that's when I'm feeling a lot stronger in April anyways. But I spoke with Christy and Amy in my group, and Christy was able to connect me with two women in our Austin Women in Tech group on the Slack channel with two women who work in the public space who might be able to help me get stronger. So so that was really positive for me, but it took the whole 2 minutes.
People, we're going to have 2 more short breakouts. So be sure to give, because it's about 4 minutes. So be sure to like split it up. So 2 people, or, you know, if there's 3 people, you know, split it up so everybody gets a chance to talk. And this is one of the ways that we can really intentionally raise energy is by connecting, which is why this is so important. And I want to have this during the presentation. And hopefully you exchange names and numbers so that, you know, you can stay in contact with each other. But so, you know, just talking about how these past strengths and values goals, the conversation just goes wherever it goes. But what you're doing is you're intentionally raising the energy and the mindset around your challenge. And that's what I really want to get across today is that intentionality. So thank you so much for sharing, Amanda.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, and congratulations on this big project you're doing. It sounds amazing.
Oh, yes, it's very exciting.
Very good. Okay, so let's go ahead and move to the next strategy. The strategy, we talked about that one. The next strategy we're going to talk about is communicating for true win-win. And this is super important as leaders, and we're all leaders in one way or the other, whether we're leading our companies, whether we're leading our departments, whether we're leading our team, whether we're leading our community organizations, our churches of worship, you know, worship places, are just getting ourselves out of bed and getting ourselves to work, getting ourselves on this web program, whatever it is, we're always leading ourselves. But you as a leader can really create these true win-wins by having the other person feel understood, and you as a leader bringing out that and changing that whole conversation and raising the level of it to that true win-win by finding their win, knowing what your win is, reflecting their win with yours, and then creating that true win-win. And that true win-win is where we get into that energy, that higher intelligence energy, that flow that we really amazing things come out of. Jeff is a really great example of this. I started working for Jeff, working with Jeff. He has a wealth management company, and then he also has a co-working space that he founded and runs. And as his companies grew, he really wanted to get a better handle on how to handle the growth, how to keep the culture positive, how to make his employees, you know, happy and want to stay with him and support him. In particular, he was having problems with one person, but in general, with the growth of a company and the changes and the challenges, he wanted to get some insight on how to continue to thrive. The first thing we did, let's go back to this for just a minute. This just kind of shows kind of what I was talking about, the fixed mindset. We looked at it before. What we want to do is we want to raise his energy to the higher levels. And one of the ways we really do this is we think of compromise as being so wonderful, but actually compromise, one or more people are not getting what they want. So the more that we can create that win-win, the better off we're going to be at really getting into that flow. So the first thing we did with Jeff was I did my energy leadership index assessment. And this assessment shows where your energy and your mindset is under stress and where it is under normal circumstances. This is his index under normal circumstances. And as you see, he rates very high on visionary, but he also rates really high on compromise. So what we want to do is we wanted to find ways to intentionally raise that compromise to the higher level of win-win and visionary. So how do you do that? Well, one way is to be curious. And so with Jeff, I had him really think about how he could get to know people better. Because this is this is the way to our hearts. This is what we want. We want to be cared about. We want our accomplishments to be acknowledged. We want to feel like we're making a difference. So really getting to know the person and what their dreams are, and really what makes them what makes them tick. And so I had him ask, well, what are you doing this weekend? What are your hobbies? What do you love? And really start getting to know his people and asking questions of his people and being curious about them. And he started getting to know his people better, and it opens up the transparency to get to know your people and get to know what's bothering them and really pay attention to them. Another great way to create this win-win is to ask open-ended questions. We want to understand the other person because, again, we're the leader. We want to create that win-win situation. We know our win, so how do we find the other person's win? One way is not only to understand them by being curious, but asking open-ended questions. When we ask a yes/no question, well, do you like your job? That's a yes or no. But if you can ask an open-ended question, what do you love about your job? And then, why is that your job important? If you ask a question like, what do you think how do you feel successful in your job? When do you feel successful in your job? How can I help you feel like, you are accomplishing something every day you come in? These kind of questions, these open-ended questions, get you so you start understanding the other person. So Jeff started asking open-ended questions, and suddenly he started finding out a lot about what his employees actually, and his staff and his leadership team actually felt about things, so that he could react better toward them. Another thing is, another way that you can create that win-win is by listening intuitively. There's different types of listening. There's subjective listening. Well, how do you like my idea? And the other person says, well, I don't know. And you say, let me tell you all the ways that you're going to love my idea. That's subjective. And then it could be another type is listening, and then you say, well, what do you think about this? And the other my idea, and the other person says, well, I don't know. And you reply more objectively. Well, can you tell me what you don't like about it? What don't you like about it? And this is good. But intuitive listening is listening between the lines. That's when you really try to get a sense of what the other person is really feeling and thinking. So pay attention to their, what they're doing with their hands, their eye, how they're looking at you, how they seem to be listening. All of these little things, the way that their breath is, all of the little things that you notice to really get a feeling about that person. And then you ask questions like, I've sensed that something feels off to you about this. Can you tell me more about that? What's going on? I just feel like there's something that's bothering you. And then suddenly the person opens up because they feel like they're heard. So strategy 2 is communicate for true win-win. And with Jeff, he told me that that he was having this problem with this guy, and he was he was part of his financial part of the company, and he was one of the reps, and he didn't like one of the apps that Jeff had chosen, and he was changing the apps, and he was kind of bad-mouthing it to one of the clients. So Jeff brought him in, and he said, normally he'd be like type A personality, fuss at him, ask him what the hell's going on, and maybe the guy would quit, or maybe he'd fire him, or maybe he'd stay, but it was very type A reaction. But he said, no, I'm going to find a win-win. Carrie says there's always a win-win. So he brings him in, and he says, well, what's bothering you here? Rah, 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 rah. Well, how can we make this so that it works better for you? Rah, rah, rah. Well, how can we make how can we get you working with a client in a way that makes everyone feel more comfortable? By the end of the conversation, the guy felt much more understood. He felt like what was bothering him was being listened to. And he stopped coming to meetings with this black cloud over his head. He and Jeff started communicating better and even meeting on a regular basis. And so Jeff ended up with a real win-win situation. He didn't lose because he needed the guy. He ended up with a really great, a situation where the guy didn't quit. He was more of a team member, and Jeff wasn't as stressed as he had been before. So that's the kind of that's the kind of thing that the conclusion that can happen with some of this work, and really creating these win-win situations in a really specific, intentional way. Does that make sense? Great. So we have another exercise. And on this one, if you can't remember what it is, you could take a picture of it if you want to, but curious, open-ended, intuitively. I want to break into groups again. Hopefully you'll get another partner, but if you don't, you know, maybe you were supposed to meet that person again, or you can jump out. But if you do get in one that doesn't have anybody in there, be sure to jump out so we can put you in a different one, because I definitely want you guys to connect. So what I want you to do is I want you to again look at that challenge, or if you want to look at another one, that's fine, and come up with 3 open-ended questions that you can ask that other person, or be curious about that other person, that will help you with that challenge. Is that clear? Does anybody have any questions about that?
So I dropped the question and this in the chat for everybody.
Oh,
Also.
great.
Yes,
Perfect.
you guys can look there. And then Carrie, how long do we have? 4 minutes?
4 minutes. So please, you know, if there's 2 of you, 2 minutes each. If there's 3 of you, you know, a minute, a little over a minute. Okay.
Okay,
So-
y'all.
Go for it.
I'm gonna recreate rooms. If y'all end up back with us though in the main section, just like holler and I'll put you guys in a different room. So here we go.
Okay, I gotta get my timer going.
Okay, Haley, where are you? Let me see. Jane, let me get you in a different room.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. How did it go? Get some good questions?
I was like, that wasn't even long enough. We're a bunch of chatty Cathys.
I know. It's easy to get. So does it, real quick, because we don't have a lot of time, one person like to share their 3 questions? Who would like to share their 3 questions? This is the everybody participate, or one person at least participate. Sam,
Well,
you sort
Carrie-
of waved your hand a little. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that we didn't get through all of them, but the ones like that I tend to ask individuals is like, what fills your cup? You know, what motivates you to be present throughout the day? And ultimately, if that's coming from interactions with your team or being kind of just an individual contributor, just doing your thing, you know, you kind of learn from how they perform by asking certain questions like that.
Perfect, because that is so true. It's like people want to be heard, they want to be, and sometimes people feel awkward about asking questions. Sometimes people, you know, feel awkward about, oh gosh, you know, I don't even know how many kids they have, you know, and so they don't even want to get into anything personal or, you know, even deeper than what you're talking about. But sometimes just say, hey, you know, I really would like to get to know you better. Can you fill me in on some of the things I might be missing out on? So you're not like, you find ways to bring out the, you know, not only what they love about work, but also what they love about being a person and all of that. So yeah, I love those questions you came up with, Taryn, and be open-minded to add to those questions, everybody, because those really work well. Okay. So we've talked about shifting your core thought to the positive. We've talked about communicating for true win. Now we're going to talk about inspiring others by clarifying your why. The way you get people interested in your why is by you get interested with people interested in your what is by clarifying your why. And one way to do that is by why you're unique, why you're passionate, and why you feel that what you're doing is making an impact. This is kind of what it looks like. Your whys inspire and get support for your what. A great example of this is Rachel. Rachel is a long-term client of mine. She works for an environmental company in Dallas. And one of the things that she is a member of, she's a member of their community committee for giving out nonprofits the money that they collect at the company. There's 20 offices in the United States of this environmental firm, and each office gets $100 each a year to put together, and then they get to choose a nonprofit to give that money to in the community. The only stipulation is that you can't use it, you can only use it for people projects. So it's got to be around education or, you know, giving out food or building a house, not wildlife and animals. She would really like to change that. Last year, she loves wildlife. She loves preservation activities. And so last year there was extra 500 that was floating around. They have 75 people, so they have $7,500 altogether. It's extra 500. She got them to give it to a no-kill zone. But what she wants to do is she wants to change that rule and make it so that more money can go to these wildlife preservation organizations. So the first thing we talked about is her passion about that. Why is she so passionate about this? Well, Rachel has always been a wildlife animal person. She has a horse that she's had for 20 years. She can't ride the horse anymore, but she goes out every weekend and feeds the horse and babies the horse. She has 4 cats. You know, she just loves wildlife. She loves being outdoors. She grew up in a farm, and there was a sick squirrel in the neighborhood, and someone brought it to her several years ago, and she nursed it back to health. And now everybody brings their sick animals and hurt animals to her to nurse back to health or put them wherever they're supposed to be. And so she has become the squirrel lady. Here's a picture of Rachel with a squirrel. Here's a picture of her feeding one of her little squirrels. And so this is her passion. And so bringing that out, bringing your passion out. Why are you passionate? Passionate because this is what my whole life has been about. This is why I got into this business, this environmental business in the first place. A second thing we talked about was her uniqueness. We really got into the uniqueness of this situation. Why is it unique? Well, in Rachel's eyes, she feels like animals, especially wildlife animals, but any animals, is controlled by people. The people make the decisions. People make decisions for themselves, but they also make decisions for the animals that really affect the animals. And it's only fair to give them equal attention to what the people are getting. So in the case of the nonprofit, it seemed to her only fair that we equal this balance by giving it to the animals that really don't have any control of what's going on. Another unique thing about it is it's an environmental firm. That's what they do. They go out and they decide, you know, what kind of animals are on here, you know, all the rules and regulations regarding protecting the environment and what can be built where. It only makes sense that with the uniqueness of an environmental firm that they would also be interested in wildlife. So that was kind of the uniqueness about it. Then we talked about the impact. And she said, well, gosh, it would really make a huge impact on our community to have more wildlife, to have you know, the parks be more conducive to wild animals, to have the areas around there to be more balanced and have, you know, more animals and wildlife and nature. And people will have, you know, have more nature in their lives, which is super, super healthy. So the impact is super good for everybody in the community. but also it would have the impact that maybe the 19 other offices would also be impacted, and they would start doing that too. And so her love for wildlife and nature would really have an impact on that. So she started doing this, and now she has brought it to the committee. Her committee is very was very positive about it, and now they've gotten excited about talking to the people higher up in the company to really change these rules. And in the meantime, they're setting aside a small amount again this year for some of the causes that Rachel believes in. So Rachel's wise. She's passionate about wildlife. Her uniqueness is protecting it because it's important to human well-being as well. And the impact is more wildlife and more nature to enjoy. You can come up with these kind of uniqueness, passion, and impact on whatever you're doing too. So whatever you're trying to get across, whatever you're trying to do in your business and life, having these whys just can really help you. My whys, I'm passionate about supporting people to live to the fullest. My uniqueness is that innovation, culture, leadership background that I kind of have all three, so I can kind of use them to my advantage. And then the impact is just a stronger, better organizations, and just making my little difference in the world. And so when I really got clear about what my whys are, my business increased substantially, and I'm a lot happier, and I feel like I can help people a whole lot more. So strategy 3 is really inspiring others by clarifying your whys. We have one more exercise, and we're going to take let's see, we're running out of time, so we're going to have 2 minutes here, just a real quick. But passionate, what makes you passionate, unique, and why do you think you make an impact? 2 minutes. So let's just go ahead and divide up for just a second, and then we'll come back. See you guys in a second. Hi, welcome back, everybody. So did you guys get some good ideas in that short period of time? Maybe got a conversation started? Great. Let me go ahead and go over the 3 that we talked about. So we shift your core thought to the positive. Strategy 1, communicate for true win-win by really understanding the other person as a leader, and then inspiring others by clarifying, really what you feel passionate about, your impact, and your uniqueness. Again, just to review, thought, emotion, action. You want to energize those thoughts, energize those emotions, and then you energize that action, and then your results are going to be amazing. Again, this is kind of the idea. We want to get from that fight and flight compromise, and we want to move it up by intentionally changing our mindset. For further insights, you please visit leadershipmindsetassessment.com, and it will give you all sorts of good ideas. And if you want to set up an appointment with me to talk about those, you have the opportunity to do that too. If you'd like to set up a discovery session with me, I'd absolutely love to talk about your challenge or anything else you would like to talk about. It's free, and I would absolutely love to meet you and talk about whatever it is that I might be able to support you with. So if you use these 3 strategies, you will say, see you later to your fixed mindset, and you will really bring in that growth, positive mindset that really will just lead to all sorts of opportunities and positive outcomes. So I hope you will use some of these in your as you go forward today, and as the week progresses and the year progresses.
Okay. And we can snip this part, Carrie. So Taryn, do you want to go ahead? Talk about the session.
Yeah, so obviously during the 3 breakouts, we, had some insightful conversations, but I think one of the takebacks was that it wasn't long enough for us to kind of really interact with each individual. So if I were going to say maybe add a little bit extra time into that to expect, if we're going to do that many breakouts, making sure that there's a little bit of time, because obviously an hour doesn't really, sometimes it just goes by so fast.
But I think
Yeah,
that
often when it's this short, I just do two instead of, I just do two of the strategies instead of
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
But I was thinking an hour, but it was actually 40 minutes. So, 40, a little bit over 40, but yeah, I usually don't let anybody say anything either, which that eats up time. So maybe next time I just, because once you bring somebody in, they start talking and they eat up the time.
Yeah.
So, I always kind of think it's nice to let the people say something, but maybe, in this case, I don't think we'd had the time.
yeah, that's hard to navigate when people start talking. You never know if it's going to be like 5
Yeah.
seconds or
It is nice to have them talk though, because they really like to talk.
for sure. And like looking at the dialogue that we had, everybody really enjoyed the topics, and then being able to break out into rooms and talk about this was really, I think, powerful for people. And I had people messaging me on the side and connecting with me on LinkedIn and being like, this was a great topic. This was a great conversation, great speaker, great content. So all great feedback from the people that messaged us, aside from just wanting more time to talk about the things that are relevant to them that you're sharing. So
Yep.
this was awesome. This
Yeah.
is-
Right, that's
good.
exactly what I want you to say in the testimonial. Exactly.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
happy to also send you like a little blurb, email blurb, to share as well. If you want to put something on your website or wherever you want to do that, I can type something up for you there too.
probably the easiest thing to do is just like put you as the only person that's on the screen, like hide myself and just have you say basically what you just said. I'm Emily Gupton with Austin, and the group, all the response was that blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's perfect for me.
Okay, happy to do that. Can I make a request that I record that separately and send it to you? Because I am late to meet with my
Oh,
CEO.
sure. Do you want me to get on with that, or do you want to just do it on your own?
I can just do it on my own, and then if you want me to re-record or do anything differently, I can. But I'll send that to you today, so you have it. I'll go in a
Okay.
different space too, so you don't see my awkward cords and like all the crap. I'll go in our mother's room and do it. It'll look much better.
That'd be great, but whatever, the thing is, if you do it, it's just like so golden for me.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, ladies. I really do
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Sure,
That
we'll
was
follow up via email after this and
Yeah.
got all the deets. If you could send me the final presentation that you shared, that would be amazing also.
sure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, Carrie.
Bye-bye,
Thanks.
Bye-bye.